there, fantasy owners. Welcome to Lift the Cup Fantasy, or LTC Fantasy as some call it. We're rolling along with our team reviews for 21-22, and today we're going to look at the Detroit Red Wings, who led them in different stats for goalies, defensemen, and forwards. Who is their biggest fantasy surprise this season? Who is the biggest fantasy disappointment? Who on the roster was fantasy relevant on a weekly basis? We'll continue to have team reviews come out every few days. Because no better way to enjoy the fantasy offseason than watching the playoffs and talking a little bit of fantasy hockey here. Don't forget to subscribe. That way, if you want to catch your favorite team's review, maybe your rival's review, maybe you want to catch all 32, or just take a peek at a team that sometimes gets overlooked fantasy-wise. It'll be a lot easier to find the video there. So we'll get right into it. Goalies. It was Alex Nedeljkovic. He played a ton of games for him, played 59 games. Little rough season in Detroit, them being a young team. He led them in wins at 20. Goals against average was 3.31. And his save percentage for being on a bad team was over 9. It was 901. Obviously, Detroit was a weak team. They're a younger team, so they should improve next year. And with that, Nedeljkovic's numbers should also improve fantasy-wise. Over into defensemen, it was Mart Seider. What a young stud. He led him in goals at 7, led him in assists at 43, points at 50. Mark Stahl snuck out plus minus. He was a -1. That was best plus minus among defensemen. And then it's back to Seider. He led him in hits at 151, led him in blocks at 161, and also led him in shots on goal at 187. So Seider is the future on the back end in Detroit. Snag him if you can in a keeper league for sure. He's did everything for him, and he'd be great in a roto league. Anytime you can dress him and trust him. And he'll be good for a long time given his age. Forwards for them, Dylan Larkin led him in goals at 31. Also led him in assists at 38 and points at 69. It was Oscar Sundqvist that led him in plus minus at a +5. Considering the team was pretty bad, nice to have somebody on the plus side. Hits was Adam Ernie at 161. Michael Rasmussen led him in blocks at 65. Nice amount of blocks for forward there. And shots on goal was Dylan Larkin at 212. So obviously with the forward group, Larkin and Bertuzzi led the offense. They were pretty good all season long. Raymond also had a nice season. He was just a little streaky at times. Biggest fantasy disappointment from Detroit? You could name quite a few considering they did have a bad year, but a lot of no-names on the roster too. But for me, it'd be Jacob Vrana. Not so much on his production. He would just be frustrating to have because he hardly played this year. He only played in 26 games. Sure, he did put up 19 points in those 26, but it'd be really frustrating if you wasted a draft pick on him basically and have him sit on IR all year. Biggest fantasy surprise has to be Moritz Seider. Young defenseman like that, he has a 50-point season. He did everything. He led him basically in every category other than plus minus there. Fantasy relevant on a weekly basis. Obviously, Moritz Seider. You can't say enough about him in Detroit there. Also, Larkin was really good on a week-to-week basis, and so was Bertuzzi. Other than that, they do have some streaming options. There was Vrana if he was healthy, but good luck with that this season. Raymond was also pretty good streamer basis, especially on a light night. He was just a little less inconsistent. Or Nedeljkovic, you could use him in a spot start goalie if it was a weak matchup on a light night. I do hope you did enjoy this episode. We'll be out in a few days with another one. If you did like it, please remember to hit like, hit subscribe, and remember that notification bell. And enjoy the playoffs and the rest of fantasy offseason, owners.